Hello fight fans and welcome back to What Culture Combat. I'm Gareth Morgan and we're just going to run through a few of the news stories that are sweeping across the MMA world today. First thing on our list, the UFC have announced the fan-voted winners for their UFC Honors 2019 awards. If you haven't heard of this by now, this is UFC's way of presenting awards, let's say, for throughout the year. So obviously your knockout of the years, your submissions of the years. There's obviously the President's Choice Awards, which are obviously voted for by Dana White, and then there's the the Fans' Choice Awards, voted for by us, all the fans back there around the world. So, the first award, the first one we're going to look into today, is the Knockout of the Year award, and that was rewarded to Jorge Masvidal for his KO over Ben Askren at UFC 239. Now, let's be honest, this was never going to go to anybody else. Jorge Masvidal's knockout, it's probably, I'm going to call a bit of a shout. It's probably knockout of maybe the last 5 years. I don't want to push it to the decade, but maybe the last 5 years. The guy literally shocked the entire world when he sprinted forward and literally nearly broke Ben Askren's face in half. He pretty much broke his entire career, but yeah, Jorge Masvidal, that knockout in particular was the kickstarter. It ignited his incredible 2019, and that's why, in my view, many views of people around the world, he probably is Fighter of the Year, to be honest. So, yeah, I fully agree with that decision to award Jorge Masvidal with a Knockout of the Year. Yeah, great. First one's down. Okay. Number 2, next award on the list is Submission of the Year. This was awarded to Bryce Mitchell, who submitted Matt Sales via a twister, and obviously this all went down at UFC Fight Night, Washington, D.C. If you weren't aware of this by now, the twister is one hell of a rare submission. Only one other person in all of UFC history has actually successfully performed this submission to earn a victory, and that was Korean Zombie, and he did that at UFC Fight Night 24, the Korean Zombie himself. Okay, next up on the list, we have the Event of the Year. The Event of the Year, which was UFC 241, Miocic versus Cormier 2. A lot of strong competition. Obviously, this has been a hell of a year for UFC. A lot of events did stand out, but yeah, I think that's probably about right. It probably involved one of the greatest comebacks we've seen this year. And speaking of which, the comeback of the year was awarded to Stipe Miocic in that fight at UFC 241. Cormier was dominating that fight. He was picking him apart, he was looking confident, he was looking in control, and then Stipe literally just isolated those ribs, took a few shots, and noticed that Cormier was getting a bit injured, getting a bit worried about him, and took him down. It was probably one of the best comebacks we've seen this year. Personally, my pick may have been Anthony Pettis' comeback at UFC Fight Night Nashville against Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, because that Superman punch was pretty ridiculous. He was getting battered all fight and literally just bounced off the fence. Bang! Superman punch. I thought that's my personal pick because I quite enjoyed that fight. But yeah, I think Stipe probably deserves that. So we'll give you that, Stipe, that's fine. And that's the roundup of the Fans' Choice Awards. There's no real word yet about the presidential ones, the Dana White voted awards. But yeah, I think to be honest, across the board, I can pretty much agree with them. But if you yourselves back home feel like maybe some other people were more deserving of those awards, please comment. Let us know. Let us know in the comment section below. Moving on, we've got our next story, which involves Frankie Edgar having no regrets, apparently, over taking on the Korean Zombie. He obviously lost that fight towards the end of last year. But yeah, he's still going full speed ahead towards the Bantamweight. That was his plan before he took on the Korean Zombie fight. And he said, his quote was, "You can't dwell on explicit word you can't change." He's known for being a guy that will literally take on anyone. He's one of the toughest guys out there. So it makes sense for him just to he wanted to right that wrong. He felt like in his own mind, he should have had that fight with Korean Zombie towards the end of 2018. It didn't happen. So he wanted to kind of scratch that off his record, make sure he had that fight, and he lost. It is what it is, but he's still going fully ahead for that bantamweight move, and I think that's probably a wise decision. You look at, obviously, Jose Aldo went down recently, and he controversially lost. Whether you thought he did or not, that's up for debate. But I think it's a good move because it gives him a fresh start. It gives him another chance to go to another division, test himself there, and let's face it, the guy's a legend. He's done it at lightweight, he's done it at featherweight. Why not see if he can try and do it at bantamweight? It's a fresh start. It's a completely clean slate. He might surprise the world. He might go on an absolute tear. So yeah, I'm all for this. We've seen it in the past with Till. Till went up to middleweight recently. He's changed divisions, and he's doing quite well. And Aldo, I think, will finally get his rhythm again. I think he was just kind of acclimatizing to the actual weight, and he did well in that fight anyway. So we'll see. I mean, it's quite nice that we're in a position now with UFC where there's not as much of a strict policy on sticking in your division. Obviously, a few years ago, there was, and fighters were kind of told, no, you stay in your lane, this is your weight, you have to fight this way, you have to fight through the rankings, and if you're not very good in those rankings, tough. Got to earn it, you earn your way up. Whereas now, people are given opportunities to kind of change things up if they don't feel like things are going for them. So I think that this is a wise decision, and all the best to you, Frankie. I hope you absolutely smash that bantamweight division. Moving on, we're just gonna have a quick chat about Cowboy Cerrone and Conor McGregor's walkout shirts for the upcoming fight. Obviously, it's one of the biggest fights, let's say, of the year already, even though it's in January. But they have already announced what t-shirts, well, they've released, let's say, the t-shirts that they're going to be wearing for their walkouts down to the octagon. But instead of going for this incredibly cool kind of unique style where people are going to think, yeah, I need to get me that kind of t-shirt, what they've done with Conor is they seem to have slapped a bobblehead of Obi-Wan Kenobi on his chest. It's a bit of a weird design, really. I don't know what they were trying to go for. It doesn't even look like Conor. It just looks a bit surreal. I'm not a massive fan of that t-shirt. Let me know if you guys are. I can't see many people. It's already kind of doing the rounds on social media. It's a bit of a weird choice. If you look at Cerrone's, he's just gone for the old kind of iconic Texan cow skull approach. It's nice and white background. It looks pretty cool. I don't get why Conor didn't just get a gorilla or something. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, he's got the gorilla on his chest. Why didn't he just get a gorilla, like, slap bang in the middle of his chest? That would have looked pretty cool. But no, he's gone for some weird-ass Jedi slap bang on his chest. I don't know. I'm not a fan. You guys might be. Let me know. And we've made it to our last story, which obviously involves Jorge Masvidal, because it seems like every single story under the sun now currently involves that man. So, he is actually called out Georges St. Pierre. Yep, not Conor McGregor. He's kind of seen that trend and gone, no, everybody's doing that. I'm sick of that. I'm going to call out probably the GOAT, probably the best fighter in history. Why not? So he's come out and told Submission Radio that he would like to resurrect GSP's career, only to break his face. Charming, Masvidal. Absolutely charming. Both of these guys would obviously want to add each other's names to their legacies, because let's be honest, like, in terms of modern stars, Masvidal is probably the top modern rated hottest property in UFC right now. So obviously GSP, if he came out of retirement to take on this guy and added him to his scalp, he's kind of knocked off every single generation he's been around, really. So it's that kind of generational dominance that GSP will be looking for. Whereas Masvidal would probably just want to add, anybody adds GSP's name to their legacy of people they beat. Not many people can do that. Like, he's not been beaten a lot. So I can see right now that Masvidal's probably the guy who wants that fight more than GSP. After calling out arguably the greatest welterweight of all time, Masvidal then went on to compare kind of eras and divisions and actually throw a little bit of shade at the current era of welterweights we have today. He went on to say, I think I got in the Hugh guy, Kamaru Usman. Shit, I think I got the easy draw. I used to with my boy T. Wood, Tyrone Woodley, and Robbie Lawler. So, to be honest, he doesn't think a lot of his current division, which, the current state of it, you've got Usman, you've got McGregor coming in maybe, like, kind of taking over in that division. If he wants to stick around, he might end up going back down to the lightweight. We don't know at this point. But I think it currently looks like Masvidal is saying that nobody, like, he's going to have to pull people out of retirement because nobody's worthy of fighting him outside of McGregor. He doesn't really want that Usman fight from the sounds of things. He feels a bit offended by him. So we'll see how that one unfolds. And that is our news update for the day. I've been Gareth from What Culture Combat. If you've got any information, anything that you'd like to share with us, please give us a few opinions on some of the stories that you've got today. Do you feel that all of the awards that were given out in the UFC Honours list were just? Do you feel like somebody else should have won maybe Knockout of the Year, maybe Submission of the Year? Please let us know in the comments section below. It's been awesome having you, and hopefully I'll see you soon.